good news coming right out of the gate today, and that is the unemployment number, 3.5%. It's the lowest unemployment in 50 years since 1969. Unemployment in the Black and Hispanic community, lowest in history. 2 million jobs created last year, including 250,000 manufacturing and mining jobs. These numbers are staggering.
Jay Sekulow Live, weeknights at 6, right before Larry Elder at 7, on AM 1250. The Answer.
Americans are not insane. Yeah, we've spent a lot of time here talking about the stupidity of allowing biological males to compete in sports against girls and women. There are lots of politicians out there who just refuse to acknowledge the stupidity of it, including lots of people who work in the governing bodies of amateur sports, high school associations like the PIAA and the WPIL. Many of them refuse to acknowledge the stupidity, and individual principals and a lot of people in schools just don't want to accept it. Anyway, they refuse to acknowledge how unfair it is to the girls and women that they're trying to help. Well, Rasmussen did a poll and found out that most people are smart enough to see how stupid it is. 23% of the respondents believe a person born male but identifying as a female should be allowed to compete in women's sports. So that means a huge majority of people, or many more people, actually see the stupidity in it. According to this story here, 56%, over half, felt that men should not compete against women, biological men, and 21% of voters are not sure. How are you not sure? These polls always have people who are not sure. Just pick one. What are you not sure about? In other words, I just say you don't want to answer, but I don't know. They should actually have the names and addresses of people who aren't sure, so you can, not hire them for jobs. And anyway, they found out more males were opposed than females in both genders. Far more disagree with allowing biological males who identify as females to compete against women. 2/3 of men, 66%, say they should not. 19% of men say they should. 47% of women disagree. And 26% agree. 26% of women agree with letting men compete as women. Pardon me for saying, but I would guess that of that 26%, 80% of them know nothing about sports. Nothing. That's just a guess. I'll get Rasmussen to pull them later on that one. Voters under 35, this kind of surprises me. Maybe it shouldn't. Voters under 35 are more evenly divided. 44% say males who identify as females should not be allowed to compete against women. 41% say they should. What's wrong with these kids? Well, that's under 35. That's not just kids. But anyway, 44% say it'd be okay, and 41% shouldn't be okay. 41% say they should be allowed to compete. Voters 35 and older are against the idea by more than 2-1, and Republicans and Democrats are split. Which shouldn't surprise you. Republicans and Democrats are against allowing males to compete against females regardless of identity, though Republicans are far more uniformly against it. It says here, Republicans are against the idea 74-12%. Republicans. Democrats are against it 45-32. Independents are against it 53-22. So there is some sanity out there. Still some people who are really stupid, obviously, that are identified in this poll, but they are, at least there's some hope there, especially if Republicans are in power. 74-12, they think it's stupid. And again, it seems to me that I'm an independent, by the way, but it seems to me that Republicans are smarter. That's just me. Meanwhile, Lady Gaga is mad. On to something else here. She doesn't like the law passed by the Alabama legislature yesterday that would put doctors in jail for up to 99 years for performing an abortion after a heartbeat has been detected, and that happens right around 6 weeks. This could end up in the Supreme Court as a challenge to Roe v. Wade. Some people think that's the whole point of all these laws in the various states. And, of course, if it does end up in the Supreme Court, this will be something that the justices will have to take into account. Where does Lady Gaga come down on this? Where does somebody who calls herself Lady Gaga, what does she have to say about abortion? Because everybody wants to make sure that they form an opinion don't form an opinion without first checking with someone who calls herself Lady Gaga. Anyway, it could be a deciding factor. Joy Behar's mad, too. She said the guys in the Alabama Senate should be forced to get vasectomies. And the ladies on The View pointed out that there are only 4 women in the Alabama Senate. Of course, that might be something that should be taken up with the people who, voted them into office, which would include a lot of women. And the governor is a woman, by the way, and she's expected to sign it. She hasn't actually signed it yet, at least hadn't as of a little while ago. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk to a legal expert to find out what all this means. Probably won't get his opinion on Lady Gaga, but maybe. Stick around. We're talking to Rocky Blyer. He's involved with the Miracle League of Moon Township and the construction of a Miracle League athletic field. The fields are designed to make it possible for kids with special needs to play sports.
Every child, no matter what the situation, deserves a chance to be able to play, to compete, and have a place that's safe, takes care of needs, that's organized. This will be the 4th Miracle League field that will be built. Now we got 4 places to be able to travel, so it broadens the whole interest of sports. It's just terrific for a community to do that.
There's a buddy system I thought was pretty impressive. What's that all about?
Kids with special needs have a buddy, a child who's in school. It's like having an older brother or sister involved with you. So it's really good, and that everybody has human dignity of being able to participate.
The website is miraclesinmoon.org. Check it out, and let's help make this dream a reality. Hey, Rocky, thanks, and we'll be talking to you again about this project. Appreciate you coming on to talk about it.
Thank you for having me.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Thanks.
Rocky
All right,
Blyer, and we'll be right back. Okay, meat lovers, Beef Jerky Outlet presents over 100 delicious ways to get your snack on. There's nothing slim about these big flavors. This is high-end quality gourmet jerky in more flavors than you've ever thought possible. From wild game to pepper and spice to sweet and savory, there's something for everyone. Flavors like honey jalapeno, Cajun barbecue beef brisket, sweet bourbon traditional, Asian sesame, teriyaki, cherry maple, and peppercorn smoked beef, just to name a few. With Father's Day coming up, this is a total no-brainer for the guy in your life. Visit beefjerkyoutlet.com for fabulous gift ideas. Plus, check out their phenomenal selection of rubs, sauces, and marinades. Beef Jerky Outlet at Tanger Outlets in Washington and their brand new location at Grove City Outlets. Beef Jerky Outlet, proud sponsor of the Jerk of the Week, heard every Friday right here on the John Steigerwald Show. Check them out, beefjerkyoutlet.com.
All right, gun lovers, here's your to-do list for the weekend. Shoot guns, test drive great new gear, and celebrate freedom at the #1 destination for American gun owners. Enjoy an action-packed weekend at the Concealed Carry Expo in Pittsburgh this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Join your fellow armed Americans at the David L. Lawrence Convention Center. Just remember, this only happens once a year, so don't put it off. It'll be an action-packed 3-day event dedicated to responsibly armed Americans like you. Trust me, you'll have a blast. You can test new guns on the free live-fire range and train with self-defense experts. There's even a reality-based training simulator. But it's only for this weekend. The doors open Friday, so text EXPO to the number 87222 now to lock in your discounted tickets and free t-shirt. Come experience the #1 destination for American gun owners with your fellow patriots. You can always just show up at the door, but if you text EXPO to the number 87222, you'll save money and get a free t-shirt. That's EXPO to the number 87222 now.
Have you tried digital marketing but don't know if it's getting you customers? Got different companies running your web design, social media marketing, and geofencing, but not sure which is working and which is a waste of your dollars? Contact us at Salem Surround, digital marketing experts who offer a free analysis of your digital marketing effectiveness and suggest methods that could dramatically increase your sales. We can put all your digital marketing under one roof, give you monthly reports on results, and instantly move your dollars to the most effective areas of your digital marketing suite. Social marketing, geofencing, web search enhancement, event targeting, and more. Now there are no limitations on where you can reach customers with Salem Surround. Total market penetration for increased ROI. Learn more by logging on to surroundpittsburgh.com. Surroundpittsburgh.com. Connecting you with new customers.
This is the John Steigerwald Show on AM 1250. The Answer.
Legislators in Alabama made abortion virtually illegal in that state yesterday. If there is a heartbeat and that happens in the 6th week, there can be no legal abortion anyway, and the penalty for a doctor who would perform one is severe, up to 99 years in prison. The governor, who is a woman, is expected to sign it. This will be getting a lot of legal challenges. The ACLU is already working to overturn a similar law in Ohio and promises to work hard to not allow the one in Alabama to happen. So what does this mean for the future of abortion, not only in those states but in the country? Tom Jipping is the Deputy Director for Legal and Judicial Studies at the Heritage Foundation. He joins us now. Tom, thanks for being here again, and we had you on before. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
So what is your reaction, Tom, to what happened in Alabama, just as a person who understands these things and has been observing them?
Well, one slight correction. The Alabama bill is not a heartbeat bill.
It's not? Okay.
No, it would ban abortion from conception, with just one exception for like a severe abnormality of the child or something along that line. But no, this wouldn't start at 6 weeks. Or 20 weeks. This would be a virtual ban on all abortions. There's debates about abortion policy, about whether there ought to be an exception for rape, whether there ought to be, other aspects about how a law is written. I think it's guaranteed that this law will be challenged in court, and it will be put on hold. I think the way the law is written, it doesn't go into effect for 6 months anyway. As to whether this could be a case that gets to the Supreme Court and allows the Supreme Court to reconsider Roe versus Wade itself, that's the real, strategy here. I don't think that this is a very good vehicle for that, because it is so kind of extreme in the way that it's written. The Supreme Court's had, Roe versus Wade was 46 years ago. The Supreme Court's had a couple of dozen abortion cases. The options for cases that are going to, put that issue of Roe versus Wade back before the Supreme Court, I think, get narrower and narrower as the years go by. And so I'm not sure that this is a good vehicle for a case that could actually get to the Supreme Court. I actually doubt whether this case, or the case involving this statute, really would. But, it certainly is a bold step about what abortion actually is, and a law that takes seriously. If we're going to protect human life, then protect human life.
Yeah, my mistake there. Do I have that confused with the Georgia
that's correct.
law?
Yes.
That's the heartbeat law, and so that's a slight difference, but 6 weeks or from the beginning, there's really not, I don't know about the medical difference there. I don't think it's all that great as far as, when conception actually can be detected.
Not necessarily, but I think one difference in terms of legal strategy, and that is, even in Roe versus Wade, the Supreme Court did put a lot of emphasis, or said they did, on medical evidence, on scientific evidence, on accepted medical judgment, things along this line. And of course, the science that we have today is much, much better than it was in 1973. Mm-hmm. So if you have a law that restricts abortion that is framed in terms of medicine and objective facts, things like a fetal heartbeat or something like that, that might be a sounder ground to work on in terms of trying to get a case to the Supreme Court.
And by the way, none other than Pat Robertson agrees with you. You would think that he would have been thrilled, to hear about this law being that hasn't actually been passed yet in Alabama, but the legislator passing it. He actually says the same thing you just said, that it's too extreme, it's going to backfire on him, and that he hopes it doesn't go to the Supreme Court because he thinks that they'll lose.
Well, I think there's something to that. You never know what kind of advice state legislators get before passing a bill of this kind. And as I say, there's arguments on both sides. My personal view is, it's probably better to try to fashion legislation that not only can get passed by the state legislature, but that could have a broader appeal among people across the country. There is a big consensus among most Americans about various kinds of abortion restrictions. Maybe it's better to pass a law that connects with that consensus so that it actually has some staying power. These are tough questions, and I mean, a case that can get to the Supreme Court. Look, the Supreme Court gets 10,000 appeals a year, and it only decides about 75 cases. So the chances of any case getting to the Supreme Court are slim to begin with. And these are tough strategy decisions. But as I say, it's a bold step that says, look, you and I were here before birth, and our life was valuable then, and it ought to be protected now.
And that's a philosophical question that's been kicked around forever. But just in terms of the strategy of starting this at the state level, with the idea that maybe the main reason you're doing this is to hope to get it to the Supreme Court. Is that what all these state laws are about, or are the states genuinely? Do they genuinely believe that they can get away with some of these laws? There's another law in Ohio that's I forget what the details are, but it's.
I think the Ohio bill is also a heartbeat.
That's what I thought.
Bill,
yeah.
And that's been signed into law. I don't know what went into each one of these laws being passed in individual state legislatures. Certainly, some of them are more. I don't want to use maybe serious isn't the right word, but I mean laws that are intended to do what they appear to do, and that is to protect preborn human life as much as possible. Others might be solely for the purpose of, daring the Supreme Court to, somehow strike it down or something like that. Those are very different strategies, and state legislators have to decide which path they want to take. One of the reasons that one of the most common reasons that the Supreme Court takes a case is because two different courts of appeals in different parts of the country have decided the same issue opposite ways.
Okay.
I find it hard to believe that any court of appeals would uphold a law like Alabama passed. That's what's going to be required, because certainly one's going to strike it down. But you'd have to have a different circuit actually uphold a really kind of extreme law like that in order to set up a path to the Supreme Court, and I just find it hard to believe that will happen.
If this is the strategy, my question would be, what took them so long? Because there have been, since it's been 46 years, and Republicans in general have been anti-abortion from the beginning, I would say from the mid-'70s. And there have been plenty of conservative governors and state legislatures that could have done this a long, long time ago. Is it the technology or is it just the belief that they have the votes on the Supreme Court now, that now's the time to go for it, do you think?
Well, I think it's probably more of the latter. You're right. There are more Republican legislatures than Democrat across the country. At the same time, the options for cases that could get to the Supreme Court, I think, are narrowing. I mean, the court's decided cases about funding and about, partial birth abortion and informed consent and all this other kind of stuff. So different legislatures are working on different kinds of restrictions. I think the judgment here was just, look, roll the dice, pass a law that, means what it says and says what it means, and see what happens. As I say, I think the chances are pretty slim that this will ever get to the Supreme Court, and if it does, that the Supreme Court would use it to overturn Roe versus Wade. But, strange things have happened.
And you're speaking here of the Alabama law specifically. Is that
right?
Do you feel less so about the Ohio or Georgia laws?
Well, I think, as I say, I think laws like that are, not just ban abortion, but the restriction or the ban that they put in place is based on medical or scientific arguments and evidence, my personal view is that they have a better chance of going further than a law like Alabama passed. I think those are better vehicles to pursue a strategy like this, and I think that's probably why they've pursued some of those bills in some of those other states.
We're talking to Tom Jipping. He's the Deputy Director for Legal and Judicial Studies at the Heritage Foundation. The laws that were passed in Virginia and New York couldn't be, they're polar opposites to the ones in Alabama and Ohio and Georgia. I mean, to the point that people believe that it allows abortion after birth. At least that's what the governor of Virginia seemed to be saying. What about testing those laws? And I mean, what's the chances of those laws holding up?
Well, there isn't any challenge to those laws.
Yeah, but could there be one, or would it make sense to challenge?
No, there isn't a constitutional argument against those laws.
Okay.
With regard to abortion, those laws are sort of preemptive. The legislators that push those laws say, if Roe versus Wade gets overturned, we still want abortion to be legal in our state. The only way to do that is to pass a state law. I mean, the other provisions of those laws, though, New York, for example, was one of many states that had a law that said if a child survives an abortion, you have to treat it like any other baby, and that is try to save its life.
Right.
That's an obligation that laws in many states impose, and New York got rid of that. I mean, that's how extreme that law is. It's not just about abortion. It says that if a child survives an abortion, the abortion's done, the woman got rid of her child, you still can let that child die. That's the monstrous stuff that's going on with laws like that. But it's not that doesn't set up any kind of constitutional issue that the Supreme Court would look at.
But there's no support for those laws based on the polls. I mean, little or no. It's like, I think I saw a piece you wrote, it's like 13% people are okay with third trimester abortions.
Oh, I mean, one of the scandals in this is that when polling organizations, there was just recently an NBC poll, and they claimed that 71% of Americans do not want Roe versus Wade overturned. Well, NBC for more than 20 years has done its abortion polls by saying Roe versus Wade legalized abortion only in the first trimester, which is a lie. And in fact, second trimester abortions support cuts in half. Third trimester abortions, the figure you cited was correct, only 13%. And if you ask people, well, what about after a child is outside the womb and is still alive? Do you think we ought to be able to just let it die? I'll bet you the support goes down even further.
And the Democrats keep refusing to vote on a provision that would prevent that from happening.
That's correct. I mean, the phenomenon here, we've had 46 years of this relentless drumbeat that abortion is a constitutional right and it's just critically important, and yet the vast majority of Americans oppose the vast majority of abortions, and that has not changed by more than a couple of points in opinion polls for 40 years. Isn't that amazing?
Yep. And
that people, despite the propaganda, more people consider themselves pro-life today than they did when Roe versus Wade was passed.
Right. And I'm out of time, Tom. I'm up against a hard break. I got like 20 seconds. Just enough time to thank you for being here again. And I have a feeling we're going to be referring back to you again here on this subject. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. Yep.
Okay, that's Tom Jipping, Senior Legal Fellow at the Heritage Foundation, trying to clear up the abortion stuff, and it's got a long way to go before being cleared up. We'll be right back.
With SRN News, I'm Ron DeRockstra. President Trump's about to unveil his administration's plan for updating the U.S. immigration system.
and senior advisor. Jared Kushner previewed the plan to senators earlier this week. Republicans say the plan is designed to give their party a starting point for talks and a stance they can carry into next year's elections.
White House correspondent Greg Clugston with that report. Meanwhile, Senator Lindsey Graham's proposing a bill to change the asylum loophole that Republicans say is being exploited by immigrants from Central America. President Trump paid tribute to the nation's law enforcement and remembering fallen police officers during a ceremony on the West Lawn of the Capitol today. Was attended the annual Peace Officers Memorial Service. This is SRN News.
What if you could make one free phone call and learn your best price from nearly a dozen highly rated, price-competitive companies? Well, that's exactly what happens when you call SelectQuote Life. For example, George is 40. He was getting sky-high quotes from other companies because he takes meds to control his blood pressure. But when I shopped around, I found him a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $25 a month. I'm SelectQuote agent Dan Savino. And believe me, if SelectQuote isn't shopping for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 800-607-3551. That's 800-607-3551. 800-607-3551. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Or price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Mike Gallagher explains the next media meltdown.
I don't think people care what happened from 1985 to 1994, but the media hysteria is ever present. Breaking down. Oh my gosh, he's a con man. What, he's a con man because a guy who made billions over the course of his lifetime had a 9-year period where he lost money? What a shocker.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at noon on AM 1250. The Answer.
You're an insurance agent. You're also an entrepreneur looking to grow. And what better way to grow than by being your own boss? Owning your own Farmers Insurance Agency has been called one of the best small business opportunities in America. With a nationally respected brand, award-winning training, and your personal experienced business coach, your opportunity to grow is unlimited. No franchise fees required. Visit beafarmersagent.com and start growing.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
1 in 7 men is diagnosed with prostate cancer in his lifetime. The good news? When caught early, it can be treated. The bad? All treatment options have side effects like impotence, urinary leakage, and rectal bleeding. New Space Or Hydrogel is FDA cleared and clinically proven to help. Men receiving Space Or Hydrogel were more likely to maintain their normal sexual, urinary, and bowel functions. Visit spaceoar.org or ask your doctor about Space Or Hydrogel.
Pella has done it again with our brand new lifestyle series. Pella can customize window replacement solutions room by room. Imagine bedroom and bathroom windows with shades between the glass, a room darkening experience for sleep in one room and beautiful privacy in the other. Pella Lifestyle Series is the #1 performing wood window and patio door. For a limited time, get 50% off installation in 12 months, no payments, no interest. Call 888-77-PELLA or PellaPittsburgh.com.
Hunt & Associates is your resource for examining the important financial aspects for your retirement plan. Listen to our podcast radio show, Hunt for Retirement, by visiting gwhunt.com. On this week's edition of Hunt for Retirement, we discuss securing lifetime income. Text HUNT to 555-888 or visit gwhunt.com to listen to the podcast now or call 844-366-HUNT for a free copy of the book, Income Allocation, and a free retirement income report.
Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer.
Watch out for an accident, Scott Township, Green Tree Road at 121. Also in Oakdale, an accident, Battle Ridge Road at Union Avenue. Big delays inbound Parkway West between Carnegie and the Fort Pitt Tunnel. And as we head over to the Parkway East, very heavy outbound Boulevard of the Allies to Edgewood Swissvale, slowing down inbound between 2nd Avenue and the Fort Pitt Bridge. That's a look at traffic. I'm Jenny Robinson.
AM 1250, The Answer. Weather.
Mostly cloudy tonight with a brief shower or two. The low 52 degrees tomorrow. Intervals of clouds and sunshine with a high of 73. Mostly cloudy tomorrow night. A shower or thunderstorm will be in the area later on tomorrow night. Lows near 60. And for Friday, we'll stay rather cloudy with a couple of showers and thunderstorms, high 74. With your AccuWeather forecast, I'm meteorologist Danielle Niddle.
You're listening to the John Steigerwald Show on AM 1250. The Answer.
Well, there are a lot of great charities out there that do life-saving work all over the world, but there are also many that have great intentions but don't do as much good as the people who donate to them may think they're going to do, or maybe these people don't get what they think they're getting for the money they donate. Well, Gret Geiler, a recent Grove City College graduate, has come up with an idea to fix that. He joins us now. Gret, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, John. It's a pleasure.
So what is DonorSee, and how is it different from most charities?
Well, the difference is in how you experience your donation. So with most charities, you log on to their website, you type in a number and your credit card information, and you hit submit, and then you get a thank you email, and then a month or two later, they'll send you more emails asking for more money, and that's about it. With DonorSee, you get to pick out the specific person in a specific situation who you want your money to go to, and then a few days after the project is funded, you will get a video of that person receiving their gift. So, for example, let's say there's a girl in India who suffers from deafness, and you send a donation so that she can get hearing aids for the first time. What will happen is a few days later, you'll get a video saying, "Hey, John, thank you so much. I can now hear. These are my new hearing aids." And you get to see video evidence of what your donation is doing.
Wow, that's a big deal. And National Review did a story about you and DonorSee, and they had that example of a deaf girl, and there was also a reference to a girl who was attacked by a crocodile. And instead of donating money to a hospital that will help girls who might be attacked by a crocodile or some other animal, you donate directly to the girl who was attacked by the crocodile.
Yes, we pride ourselves on the immediacy with which your donations start working. So again, there's a big comparison here, and I don't want to disparage other charities. There's a lot of charities doing some really fantastic work. There's definitely room for hospitals and things like that. But one of the things that is really great about DonorSee, when you have the option to log on and donate there, is you get to see your money working within a few days of the donation being made. Often when you give to a charity, that charity is that donation is going into a big vat, and then that big vat kind of collectivizes together to pay for the accounting department and the CEO's salary and so on and so forth. And what's cool about DonorSee is you get to see the direct result of your money making an impact in someone's life.
Yeah, there was a scandal that was percolating a little bit. I haven't heard much about it lately. During the 2016 campaign about the Clinton Foundation and what happened to a lot of money that was directed toward Haiti. And I don't know enough about it to claim that the fault lies with the Clintons themselves. But is that just kind of a problem that is with all large charities, that it's hard to track the money and to account for the money, but also to allow the people who are donating the money to see what they got for their money?
Yeah, it's a common problem. It's not just the Clinton Foundation. The Red Cross also had a massive scandal during that same time. The article title was called "The Red Cross Raised $500 million and they built 6 houses." And what happened was with this report, they found out that this was an awesome opportunity for the Red Cross to raise money. Whenever there's a big news article, whenever there's a big disaster, that's a great opportunity for these large relief organizations to raise hundreds of millions of dollars. But when they do that, the question of how they spent it, how effectively it's spent, what's the follow-up, how accountable is the money being used, all of those questions are not in the media's attention by the time that the situation has come to pass, right? So what happens is they raise a ton of money, and then where it goes or what happens to it, it becomes less important because people have moved on to other events in the media at that point. And so yeah, that's why we started DonorSee. It was really out of this desire to give donors control over their donation. They get to see exactly where their money is going. They get to know that it's working to help real people in real need.
And by the way, it's spelled DonorSee as one word, DONORSEE, as in you, the donor, see what you get for your money, right? That's where the name came from.
Absolutely. Yep, so they can go to DonorSee.com, or you can download our app on the Apple or the Android store and just type in DonorSee and you'll find it there.
Okay, now, you're a recent, how recently did you graduate from Grove City?
Not that recently. I mean, somewhat recently. I was 2012.
Oh, that's recently for me, believe me.
Yeah, it depends on your perspective, I guess.
Yeah.
For me, I've been out of college longer than I was in college, so that
Right.
was a milestone that I passed recently. And yeah, I spent a year working in the corporate world, and that was fine, but I wanted something more interesting than that. And so then I spent 3 years living in Malawi, Africa, which was the poorest country on the planet at the time that I visited. And that gave me a lot of insight into charities and poverty, and that is what eventually led to DonorSee.
Now, what possesses a young college graduate to decide to leave the corporate world and head for the poorest place on the planet Earth?
Well, I was not just in a corporate job. I was very successful in my corporate job. I won't say the company, but it's a very large company, and I was promoted within 6 months, which was faster than anyone in the company had ever been promoted before to this position. And I was told by upper management that I was going to be fast-tracked. I was going to get my own company car. And it seemed like, for all intents and purposes, it seemed like this really positive thing that I had going for me. But I was looking at my life, and I was projecting out the next 20 years, and I thought, you know what? I don't think I wanted this. This is not going to fulfill me if I stay on this track for another 20 years. If I make a big cushy paycheck and I have all sorts of employees under me, I think I want something more out of life than that. And I didn't know what that was at the time. Now I do, but at the time, it was just I needed to hit the eject button, and so I was looking at different opportunities. And I spent about 6 months looking for different places I could go and different service opportunities. And eventually Malawi is what fell into my lap. And within the course of a month, I quit my job, got my shots, and I was on a plane to Africa.
Wow. Now, how do you go from being? Are you from Western PA? Is that where you were living?
I'm from the D.C. area.
Okay.
And then I went to a Christian high school, and then that's how I ended up going to Grove City.
Okay, but I'm just wondering how you settled on Malawi, and what organization did you join, or did you just take off on your own and head for there to see what you could find over there?
Yeah, so anyone who is looking to go overseas, I highly recommend your first year that you go with an organization. There's just there's too much of a different culture shock. There's too much of a different language. So as much as you can, go with an organization. What I did was I found an organization called African Bible Colleges, and they had a missionary school there that was half Malawian kids and half missionary kids. And I taught high school math my first year there, so I was teaching pre-calculus and algebra 2 in the middle of rural Africa at the time.
Wow! And so, what was your epiphany? I mean, when did you decide that come up with the idea of DonorSee? Was there a specific incident?
I can tell you exactly when it was. Yeah, I can tell you exactly when it was. I went over to Malawi, and like I said, it's the poorest country on the planet. It's almost impossible to convey how poor it is because the people there live on $1 a day. They live in such destitute poverty that it's unfathomable to someone who has grown up in America and lived in the suburbs or the city most of their life. You just can't imagine how poor it is. And so I went over there. I was exposed to this, and I was shocked by it. I went to private schools my whole life growing up. And so I was looking for a way to communicate the level of poverty to my friends back in the States. And so I wrote blog posts, and I made videos, and I would send them this stuff. It wasn't quite clicking. And then one day, there was a lady who I found who hadn't eaten in a week, and I fundraised some money so that she could get some food. And my friends back at home, they got to see the transaction happen. They got to see their money make an impact in someone else's life. And when it was their money being used to make an impact in someone's life and being able to see the end result of their donation, that was when the light bulb went off for them. And so then I said, okay, well, how can I make this bigger? How can I grow this? And so I started doing more projects and bigger projects. And then eventually I created this platform where multiple people all over the world can post these projects that we vet, and then donors can have the opportunity to see where their money goes.
Wow. We're talking to Greg Glyer. He's the founder of DonorSee, DonorSee.com. That's amazing. And, you know, I complain a lot here because I'm old about some of the things in the world that are screwed up because of the internet. And I think one of the biggest problems on the planet right now is the fact that everybody has a camera with them at all times that can, record something and send it somewhere instantly. There's a lot of good that comes from it. This is one of the best things I've ever heard that has come as a result of the ability to transmit video. And because of what you're doing with it, you are changing the way charity is done, and you're using technology to do it. You couldn't do this 20 years ago when nobody had a cell phone that took video.
Yeah, that's right. We're very, very blessed with the opportunity to use the technology that we have right now. I totally agree that there are ways and situations where technology is a net negative. In fact, I don't ever check my Facebook feed or my Instagram feed or my Twitter feed. I try to be off social media as much as possible. There's a lot of negative aspects about technology, but there is a lot of good embedded within it if it's done appropriately, and that's what we're trying to do with DonorSee. We're trying to bring charity into the 21st century because charity hasn't changed for like 50 or 60 years. Like there's nothing that's different about it, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to say what is the most innovative way that we can tackle charity given all of this amazing and wonderful technology that we have. And that's what we're doing constantly. We're always adding updates and features that get us into that next phase of innovation within charity.
And so people who give to charity, sometimes they expect to see a brick and mortar result. They expect to see a hospital or a school or a house for somebody. And you're not promising that, are you?
Well, we just tell you exactly where your money is going to go. So there are projects on DonorSee where you can give, if you're someone who's inclined to give to a more institutional situation, and we have plenty of donors like that, then we have opportunities for that. You can put a roof on someone's house, or you can build a rain gutter to help people collect water so that they can have a more sustainable life. So there are opportunities like that, and it's really just a matter of how do you want to give? What is the way that you want to give? And we're going to not only let you give that way, but then we're going to send you video updates showing you that it happened. So yeah, we're very there's a lot of options when you go to DonorSee.com.
Now, what makes this appealing, Gret, is that it seems like it's a smaller operation. And what you've just described, the ability to see exactly where your money's going. But does this become less effective and less appealing as it gets bigger? Because then you turn into just another charity?
Oh, that's a great question. In fact, I started a charity back in Malawi called HOMES, HOWMS, Housing for Orphans and Widows in Malawi. And for $800, you could build a house for an orphan or a widow in Malawi. Which sounds insane, right? That price sounds insane, but that's the level of poverty that exists over there. Mm-hmm. And what I was noticing is as we were growing, we were building, that charity has built over 200 houses at this point. But what I was noticing is if I really wanted to grow this thing, I would have to compromise. But there's no way around it. I would have to, at some point, say, okay, this is going to be a little bit less personal here, and we're going to do a little bit less accountability here. And that's just the natural tendency for the way that things grow. That's why I designed the DonorSee model to circumvent that, to completely flip that on its head. So what we do with DonorSee is we work with on-the-ground partners who are part of grassroots organizations. And the way that we grow is we add more grassroots partners. And so no matter when you give or how you give, you're always giving through a grassroots organization that is on the ground, getting their hands dirty, involved with the local people who understand the local culture. That's all part of the DonorSee experience. And so, yeah, that's the difference between a huge bureaucracy where the headquarters is in Washington, D.C., and they're making decisions for people in 50 different countries. We're a much more decentralized model where the partners are on the ground and they're the experts, and we bow to them in terms of what is best for that specific location.
And the opposite of this, and I only have about a minute left, but the opposite of this would be taking a video of the president of some charitable organization staying in a 5-star hotel eating a really expensive dinner that you paid for with part of your charity. Then
exactly, we could do a project for that. No kidding.
Yeah, so I really appreciate you being on, Gret, and we'd like to catch up with you again. And any news you have on what you're doing, let us know. We'll get you on and talk about it. It's a great thing you're doing.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks for being here. Thanks a lot.
All right.
And we'll be right back. Obamacare, Trump Care, ACA, COBRA. There are so many choices, but all seem to bring one word to mind: expensive. There are lots of changes happening in healthcare today. Fortunately, I know someone that has been on the forefront of health insurance for years: Todd Marley at Marley Financial. Todd and his team of professionals are licensed with virtually every healthcare provider in the country. They help determine which plan is right for you and then expertly help you choose the best plan for your needs and then do so prudently. Don't need maternity coverage? Call Marley Financial. Have pre-existing conditions? Call Marley Financial. Want just catastrophic or just accident? You know the answer. Worried about the penalty? All of Marley Financial plans are penalty exempt because they know how to design the plans. Most of their clients save 30 to 60%, which can add up to several $1,000s a year. Call Todd at Marley Financial, 724-884-1496. That's 724-884-1496 on the web at marleyfg.com. Have you heard the crack of the bat, the cheers of the crowd? Have you seen the smiles on the faces of the players as they take the field? I'm not talking about the Pirates. I'm talking about what's happening in Moon Township that can only be described as a miracle. This is John Steigerwald. With the help of Pirates charities and people like yourself, the Miracle League of Moon Township has broken ground on a brand new ball field and adaptive playground where athletes with special needs can play regardless of their ability. At miraclesinmoon.org, you can see the stunning plans for the 9,500 square foot playground and state-of-the-art ADA-compliant restroom facility with showers, wave technology, multi-level fountains and sinks, mechanical changing tables, and more. It's incredible. Our goal? To raise the remaining funds they need to bring it home by first pitch this September. Check it out at miraclesinmoon.org/donate and make your tax-deductible gift today. That's miraclesinmoon.org/donate. This message paid for by Robinson Town Center, a Zamias Properties entity.
1 in 7 men is diagnosed with prostate cancer in his lifetime. The good news? When caught early, it can be treated. The bad? All treatment options have side effects like impotence, urinary leakage, and rectal bleeding. New Space Ore Hydrogel is FDA cleared and clinically proven to help. Men receiving Space Ore Hydrogel were more likely to maintain their normal sexual, urinary, and bowel functions. Visit spaceoar.org or ask your doctor about Space Ore Hydrogel.
All right, gun lovers, here's your to-do list for the weekend. Shoot guns, test drive great new gear, and celebrate freedom at the #1 destination for American gun owners. Enjoy an action-packed weekend at the Concealed Carry Expo in Pittsburgh this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Join your fellow armed Americans at the David L. Lawrence Convention Center. Just remember, this only happens once a year, so don't put it off. It'll be an action-packed 3-day event dedicated to responsibly armed Americans like you. Trust me, you'll have a blast. You can test new guns on the free live fire range and train with self-defense experts. There's even a reality-based training simulator. But it's only for this weekend. The doors open Friday, so text EXPO to the number 87222 now to lock in your discounted tickets and free t-shirt. Come experience the #1 destination for American gun owners with your fellow patriots. You can always just show up at the door, but if you text EXPO to the number 87222, you'll save money and get a free t-shirt. That's EXPO to the number 87222 now.
Protecting data across modern decentralized networks presents challenges that traditional backup solutions can't handle. At best, you'll waste time and money managing multiple solutions. At worst, gaps in coverage will leave your data vulnerable. Barracuda Backup is a single cloud-integrated solution that simplifies the backup process and allows data replication to anywhere on your network, a private cloud, Barracuda's cloud, or to the AWS public cloud. Reclaim your data. Try Barracuda Backup free at barracuda.com/backup.
This is the John Steigerwald Show on AM 1250 and FM 92.5. The Answer.
I think that's an amazing story that Garrett Glyer told us about this organization, Donor C. And if you go to donorc.com, you'll see interesting things there. There's an example I'm looking at right here. just to give you an idea of what he was talking about, it says Obed gets a leg. Obed, O-B-E-D, was born with a missing bone and was forced to hop around, but after 12 days and $450, our donors got him a prosthetic to help him walk to school and play with friends. And there's a before picture of this kid without a leg and an after picture of him walking around. And you've sent your money, and within 12 days, you see a video of what your money did for you. I think that's huge for the future of charity, which, by the way, I see on the website. It says, find out why Donor C is called the future of charity. I mean, there's these organizations like Save the Children, where you send $30 a month, and it says you feed a kid for a month. Those are great charities, I assume, but I think some of them are also charities that you wonder how much of it is spent for administration and to pay the salaries of people and travel and all that. This is one thing, as I said during the interview, that really takes advantage of the technology and the social media and the just the what comes with everybody being armed with a video camera. Some of the things that drive me crazy. This is maybe the best thing I've ever seen. That as a result of people being able to take a picture of something and transmit it across the world. You're getting results. You're donating a few bucks, and sometimes within a couple of days, you're seeing the money that you sent turned into, in this case, a kid walking around who's been hobbling around. There's another one. It says Grace gets a wheelchair. Grace wasn't able to get around unless she was carried on her mother's back, and there's a before picture of this girl being carried piggyback by her mother. And after 15 days and $300, our donors provided Grace with a brand new wheelchair, and there's the after picture of her going around in a wheelchair. And this could be done all over the world, individual basis, individual donations, and everybody sees the result of the money you send. And instead of some guy sitting in a 5-star hotel restaurant eating lobster and shrimp, because on your money that you sent, because he had to take a first-class ticket, fly first class over there to observe what's going on. This is a lot better. So check it out, DonorSee.com, DonorSee. Thanks for listening. Talk to you later. Bye.
The John Steigerwald Show is a production of AM 1250, The Answer, and Salem Media Group.
1 in 7 men is diagnosed with prostate cancer in his lifetime. The good news, when caught early,